La última publicación del informe de Estado de la Seguridad Alimentaria y la Nutrición en el Mundo nos ofrece una visión detallada de los avances y retrocesos en la lucha contra el hambre. A nivel global, persisten desigualdades significativas, mientras África sigue siendo la región más afectada de América Latina y el Caribe. Muestran señales positivas de recuperación. El camino no ha sido fácil. Tras la pandemia del COVID-19, nuestra región fue una de las más afectadas por el hambre, alcanzando en el 2021 a su punto más alto del 6.9% de la población que fue afectada. Sin embargo, en los últimos 2 años se ha registrado una disminución de los niveles de hambre, con una tasa del 6.2% de la población, principalmente impulsada por los países de América del Sur. Inversiones en programas de protección social en varios países de la región han sido fundamentales para impulsar esta recuperación. A 6 meses de la conferencia regional de la FAO, que se realizó en Georgetown, Guyana, nos comprometemos a dar respuestas tangibles a las prioridades establecidas para los países, para lograr una mejor producción, una mejor nutrición, un mejor medio ambiente, finalmente una mejor. Desde la FAO hemos iniciado un proceso de reflexión junto a los gobiernos para compartir experiencias de políticas públicas orientadas a garantizar la seguridad alimentaria. Nuestra región, al igual que el resto del mundo, debe estar preparada para enfrentar riesgos crecientes como el cambio climático, conflictos, crisis económicas, entre otros desafíos. América Latina y el Caribe han demostrado que con políticas adecuadas podemos avanzar y ofrecer respuestas concretas y sostenibles. Solo con un compromiso firme podremos poner fin al hambre y a la malnutrición.
Hola, soy Cracks, el paujil colombiano, reportero del Inventario Forestal Nacional, y vengo a acompañarlos en la segunda temporada de esta miniserie en plastilina. Voy a hablarles de otro de los instrumentos del Sistema Nacional de Monitoreo de Bosques de nuestro país, el Sistema de Monitoreo de Bosques y Carbono del IDEAM, para lo cual quiero presentarles a un amigo que se une a la Liga de Reporteros FAO e IDEAM. ¿Y quién será su vocero? ¿Abejas? Démosle la bienvenida al Caimán Negro. ¡Hola, cracks! ¡Hola, amigas y amigos! Soy el Caimán Negro, pero pueden llamarme Jack. Vivo en los ríos, lagos, pantanos y bosques inundables de la Amazonía. Mi piel oscura me sirve de camuflaje para, ya saben, alimentarme. Me encuentro en peligro debido a la caza y la pérdida de mi hábitat. Ahora hago parte del proyecto GCF Visión Amazonía, que confió en mí y no se dejó llevar por las apariencias. Este proyecto es financiado por el Fondo Verde del Clima, GCF en inglés, e implementado por la FAO de manera conjunta con Minambiente e IDEAM, y busca reducir la deforestación y degradación forestal en el bioma amazónico colombiano a través del fortalecimiento de las capacidades para monitorear los bosques nacionales y locales.
Sí, FAO e IDEAM son socios para fortalecer este sistema que opera desde el 2011 y suministra datos que permiten la toma de decisiones.
En el próximo capítulo podrás conocer qué información genera el sistema de monitoreo de bosques y carbono liderado por el IDEAM.
Hola María José, ¿cómo estás?
Hola.
¿Cómo te va? Un gusto. Yo soy Sorush, estoy liderando la unidad.
Dear friends and farmers, the World Food Day 2024 theme, Right to Food for a Better Life and a Better Future. Remind us that IFA has a huge mission to ensure food security for people every day, everywhere. A better life is more and more dependent on the food diversity from different resources with different origin. Promoting food diversity can improve the protection of biodiversity and cultural diversity. Today, smallholder farmers and family farmers are the backbone to producing enough food and preserving traditional food cultures. We know that around 730 million people are facing hunger due to the global challenges caused by the man-made and natural disasters, based on the 2024 Sofia report led by FAO. And more than 2.8 billion people in the world are unable to afford a healthy diet. There is no time to lose. We must take immediate action. We must act together. This World Food Day let us renew our commitment to build a more efficient, more inclusive, more resilient, and more sustainable agri-food system that respects everyone's demands for varied and healthy food. The right to food is a basic human right. Collective action can drive in substantial change with global collaboration from all sectors and all partners, and especially the youth, because a food secure future is their right. They design and decide their future. The UN Summit of the Future will be determined by their actions. Science and innovation, including IT, AI, biotechnology, and digital agriculture, among others, will be decisive forces for agri-food system transformation. Together, we can honor our collective pledge to take action for people, planet, and prosperity, and the four betters: better production, better nutrition, a better environment, a better life, leaving no one behind. Our actions are our future. And our actions must ensure the right to food for a better life and a better future. Happy World Food Day 2024, and happy FAO birthday to you all.
Voy a eucalipto, voy a ir a la natural. Voy a ir a plantar, cedro.
Naranja, mi bebé. Ay, bebé, irara, agua sande. Bebé tere, bebé guayaibí.
Más o menos, me costó 5 metros, ahí no eucalipto. Es natural ya, casi 1,5 metros o 2 metros, veo de cosas.
Hoy la horcalito, hoy la guayaibí, mi lo ya de ha roño tu y mata y liño pero me ore la roño tu hangua curi y ore roño tu sande roño tu hangua roño tu suba bati. Tu chapa me na con la bati ya hi amai. Hoy anda ahí está cuidando tu pero cuando ya se imagina un se agüerula se va a mu pupu cure un a cocinar su y de provecho para con la niña pues. Un hangua así, pues mandé a cuata ore.
La tormenta ahí mi ahí. Da, él es por ella te ya. Por la olla es juicio ya voy. Es un dipaco, pues.
Upela be amatusha primero que yo la voy a batir, un gajo gapaite porque besa upea ya la voy a batir. Tu. Ha upea un gajo gapaite, ha upea tu cuipe utu. Ha upea hoy tu paite oje. Pero puta pupe que la ore naranja mío o cacua. Pero la roño tu a su primera vez a tu oñe un dipaite. No aprovecháis ni uno. Hako año pendoy ko mandi o milay ponanje. Hako ko año ningo hundi paite hoy ni dai poi ko ni un be uma se be vision hundi paite. Hako ko año la ya bon hace una la ba vete verán ando ubi la re ko ko pupe wa. Pesa mi mingo un año más pe hapo. Hoy tu paite be ubi tu imi o wa tu ha hoy tu pa sa yo ai porque
entonces lo que vamos a hacer es que
pero
en vez de yo hacer el conteo voy a pasar el audio del que ya se está transmitiendo, de este video, y le voy a ir bajando poquito a poco, paso como el bumper de FAO,
Hacemos la
y
huevo
luego
y te
vas a
lo
ver
menos
como
y
la
con
imagen
ahora y lo me voy
ahí
a
arranca,
poner naranja
¿ok?
mi pone te ya.
Justamente
La
en un
ora
par de
cubeta la
minutos.
de provecho la upei o putu ta hinya hakwe.
De nada.
Sao ahí te ahí la esa naranja porque no se ven con la naranja mía. Ni un di pan con la uva. Un di tengo visión bojo humba. Hace un ahí te ahí sano y te reindo. Y pon ahí te reindo. Ojalá no la apona ahora de hija. Y pon ahí te reindo. Se me buscó a ver
for my children.
I'm very
happy to have been
To have attained this. Si la gente familia vengo ando nyamapo.
For our families and our work.
Es un principio universal de la vida,
It's a universal
un derecho
principle of
humano
life.
fundamental.
It's a human fundamental
Todos
right.
deberíamos tener acceso a alimentos suficientes, nutritivos, diversos, asequibles e inocuos. Comienza en la naturaleza, un viaje de nuestras granjas a nuestras mesas, donde nos reunimos para celebrar nuestras identidades culturales. Día Mundial de la Alimentación. La alimentación es un derecho, todos los días, para todos y en cualquier lugar.
El cambio climático está transformando los paisajes y las vidas de millones de personas en todo el mundo. Las comunidades locales que dependen directamente de la naturaleza son especialmente vulnerables. Chile, a través de la Ley Marco de Cambio Climático, reconoció la necesidad urgente de adaptarse y mitigar los efectos del cambio climático en las áreas más afectadas. Así nace el proyecto Acción, Territorio y Clima, diseñado para abordar las consecuencias del cambio climático y apoyar a los gobiernos locales y sus comunidades en la gestión sostenible de sus recursos. El objetivo de esta iniciativa es capacitar a los funcionarios locales y organizaciones ambientales en prácticas sostenibles para la adaptación y la mitigación del cambio climático. Así lo estamos haciendo en las regiones del Maule y del Biobío, en diferentes localidades, empoderando a las personas con conocimientos y herramientas para construir planes regionales de acción por el clima. A través de talleres, formación y fortalecimiento de capacidades, se promueve un desarrollo local integrado, resiliente y sostenible. La experiencia se centra en proporcionar prácticas y adaptar a las realidades locales, garantizando que las comunidades puedan prosperar a pesar de los desafíos climáticos. Trabajando mano a mano con los gobiernos y comunidades locales, enfrentamos juntos las consecuencias del cambio climático, construyendo un futuro más sostenible para todas y todos.
Muy buenos días a todas las personas que nos acompañan el día de hoy en nuestra octava y última sesión de Agrovisiones, la serie webinar de innovación
where we discuss innovation and for innovation and food transformation. Today we talk about innovation in entrepreneurship of regenerative marine life. For those of you that don't know me, I am Luz Obliguer. I have been fortunate to be the moderator of these sessions. We have María José de la Fuente with us today. María José is a co-founder and CEO of Huiro Regenerative or Regenerativa. She's a marine biologist with a PhD in engineering sciences and has over 7 years of experience working with coastal communities for sustainable development and regenerative models. Hello, María José. How are you today? Hello, Luz. Thank you very much for this invitation. I'm fine, thank you. I hope you're well. I'm fine, thank you. I would like to begin by asking you to tell me about your trajectory, your career journey. How did you found Huiro Regenerativo? All my life, I knew I wanted to study marine biologist. I come from a family which is more humanist and artistic and engineering. I always had a very clear view that I wanted to study marine biology. I had very good professors at the Universidad Católica that inspired me greatly. And very much from the beginning, I always had this idea of algae to remediate the ecosystem and to have the engineering and restorative capacity that these specimens had algae, seaweed, in essence. Then promoting with my colleagues to work in areas of algae, we tried to do a project when we were at the university, which we weren't able to finish with the process. We were in an undergraduate position, and that also promoted or encouraged us and professors to continue studying on this aspect. Well, I said, well, engineering is the applied science, so I followed that line, seeking to understand what I wanted to do with these aspects related to applied working with algae. And then I found myself with various challenges. I was studying a PhD, and the focus was very closed on the research, on publishing. And I said, well, I need something that I can create an impact on the challenges that we have today, that are occurring today, that are urgent to be resolved today. And that's when I began working with Sebastián Gatica, my current partner with whom we co-founded. He has a laboratory at Universidad Católica, and he invites me to be a part of this process with small-scale artisanal fishing, sustainable, and these aspects of the algae. From another standpoint, I was looking at it from the regenerative scientific aspect, but I wanted to see it from the level of people. Who are those connected to the resource? And then I realized that there were more than 80,000 algae small-scale fisheries that are dedicated to collecting algae, but they cannot sustain themselves based only on this activity, that there was a very low price around algae that was extracting an enormous amount in Chile. 97% of the algae that we export comes from natural sources, and we are the third in the world in these productions. So this was a reality I was faced with. I said, oh my gosh, this goes much beyond just feeling about the scientific aspect of bioremediation, but also there is an aspect that has to do with a systemic profile or analysis of this. So I started to look at this problem or challenge in a systemic fashion, which included different players, the industry, nature, communities. And from that standpoint, we began to create this model of triple impact, which is Huiro Regenerativo. Well, tell us a little bit about this triple impact. What is the mission of Huiro Regenerativo? You told us a little what inspired you, but what is your motivation, the most profound motivation you have? Well, from that same line of identifying the needs that people had, our heart, if you will, our center was in collaboration and creating a collaboration through the farming of algae. This has a capacity for regeneration in its ecosystem. We fix carbon, nitrogen, contaminant analysis, the biodiversity, thanks to the farming of algae, but also to work with communities and change their paradigms, the extractive paradigms that has reached these enormous impacts in natural banks of resources. These have to be sustainable in time.
pudiendo cambiar la realidad de
and
estas
also
comunidades.
changing the realities of the people, of the livelihood of these people, not resolving everything. Of course, it would be a lie if I told you that the algae farming is the panacea and that will resolve all the issues. But it does improve their income and allows them, allows communities to enter a new market. And we also began from the end of the value chain, and then we went to the beginning of this chain, because what I mean is we began working
el agregador de valor al alga.
adding a value to the algae, the companies that were innovating in a product that had algae, give them a better price to the entire chain and have it more sustainable. Why wasn't this done before in Chile? Because there was no differentiation between the algae that was coming from natural banks and those that were being fished. And we wanted to change the reality and attaining different prices thanks to the positive impact of the social and environmental aspect that our algae has. So the triple impact is social, economic, and environmental. All right, let's talk about innovation then. What innovations has Huiro Regenerative brought to agri-food? Well, I believe, observing the video that was shown before we began today, we need to begin looking at the agri-food industry in a more sustainable manner. We're going to continue growing enormously at the world level, and we need to grow to ensure people's food accessibility. If it's planned and done correctly, it is a space that provides us with enormous amounts of benefits. For example, I give today, I don't need to add any fertilizer. It is just a management of domesticating it, of understanding its life cycle to manage it. There is no genetic unnatural process. I extract them from natural banks, which is close to my farming process, and it develops in a better way and improves and wins over other species that can overcome them. I don't have to add fertilizers. I don't use soils. So here, aquaculture in general, and particularly for me in the area of algae farming, it is a solution to many of the major challenges that the agri-food industry has, the soil biodiversity, the deterioration of the soils, and so on. Very nice. So you've mentioned algae all the time. So tell us, what are algae? What type of algae are being used? What is the product that you work for human consumption, for a associated product? Tell us a little bit more about that. The Huiro is our star, which is a kelp. It is an organism that has the highest amount growth in the planet. It can grow 10 centimeters a day, and it forms these enormous forests that sustain enormous amount of species, thousands. And we work with Pelillo, which is very culturally linked, where we began in the region of Los Lagos. Now we're in Aysén, Valparaíso, and we're getting closer to the north. We have also done some prototypes with Luga Roja, with Chicoria. These are algae that are a little bit more complex, but we're also constantly seeking to domesticate more algae because we are associating with a Dutch company which knows about domesticating algae. We have Macrosica chilensis, which is the Huiro de Pelillo algae, and we want to advance in the domestication of more algae. Where do we use it? Well, today, what we seek
poder responder una rama lo más
is to respond to a broad fan of industries, because in the past, we're not the first ones to do massive algae farming. They're closed only to one industry. Today, what we're trying to do is focus, and we are in planning and the construction of biorefinement to develop the process, products that will respond to the need of different industries. We're talking about biostimulants with food industry, human food, animal food,
hidrocolloides,
hydrocolloids, thickeners, cosmetics, etc. But the idea is to respond to a broad, sustainable, and profitable diversity of industry. So it has an enormous potential of products of this Huiro regenerative has. So tell me about sustainability. How do these innovations contribute to sustainability and regeneration of the environment? As I said, algae are considered ecosystem engineers. They have an entire ecosystem. If you analyze only the disc, which is the symbol of a tree, it's a disc, right, that you see when you cut down a tree. But the algae, the species rather, that depend independently of all the entire ecosystem that they depend upon. So these are, and the capacity of capturing carbon that algae have is enormous. We have already standardized the capture of carbon that they have. We start to analyze how to sequester these in the marine beds. We already, for many, many years, we hope that this will continue. This has an enormous effect on the challenges that we face with climate change and the effects of nitrogen and other contaminants in our ecosystem. So this is a crop that is very important for ecosystems. We are, without a doubt, creating the ecosystem and the equation of what adds and rests and subtract. Anything you put has an impact. Just putting an infrastructure that requires the sustainability of these crops has an impact. So today we are seeking as a company how to be determine which is the positive impact at the far as sequestering carbon in matters of contaminants and biodiversity in marine ecosystems. Okay. So what types of technologies or digitalization are you implementing that has favored the growth of Huiro? Today, I would say that we are quite advanced. There are two extremes of this chain. We have tackled the entire chain from the extraction to the spora until we sell the algae, and also we are seeking to associate ourselves to add value to these. The first steps where you obtain the spora in the lab, and you can obtain sporophytes, which are very small plants, like a greenhouse of algae. Then, as I said, we collaborate and we work with Ortimare, which is a company from Holland. And thanks to them, we have been able to develop a hatchery that goes towards an automation process. We're working with great dedication with another entrepreneurship with Paled, which has determined how to decompose light, because light that is needed for these ecosystems and to make the the algae lab grow is much less efficient than if you give them the light that they specifically chlorophyll needs. The chlorophyll is a component that allows them to capture light, right, and carry out photosynthesis. If you deliver a specific amount of light, it's much more efficient. So we have gathered many technologies and knowledge from different parts to create this laboratory that allows us to produce 10 kilometers, linear kilometers of sporophytes of the microcystis. And that first stage is very well resolved, as I said. It's more in a scaling process right now, and we need to adjust certain details. The process between sowing, harvesting in the ocean, we're seeking to see what's happening worldwide to bring those technologies here. And this is where the challenge that we have not been able to resolve this. How do we automate this and make it more profitable, if you will? And then in the process of adding value, as I said, we are collaborating with a North American company that's called Grow Ocean, and they bring a methodology that maintains the algae to keep the bioactive components longer, so we have more time to process it. And the idea is to create within this biorefinery, as I said, in the same process to decompose the algae, take advantage of it in 100%, and respond to different industries. Thank you, María José. You've talked about various alliances. Tell us about the collaboration companies or institutions, and how do how does Huiro Regenerativo work in this path? In all my presentations, I always put at the center collaborations that we have attained. And I invite a great deal because as a company, we're very open to this. Because I believe that in 3 years, we've been able to achieve the functioning of our company. We have had results that are, for me, they are impressive. We talk about with allies, I work with other companies. They are quite impressed. The key here has been collaboration. The fact that we are humble, and we cannot be good at everything. There are people that are progressing enormously in various technologies. And why do we want to reinvent the wheel if someone else did it already? And collaborate and gather strength and reach the objective and resolve the challenges that are reaching us very quickly. So this is a key factor and central factor that should be at the center of a climate crisis. We have to collaborate with the entire ecosystem to face the challenges fast. Thank you very much. I agree enormously. What kind of role does education play in agri-food transformation? Do you offer training programs? Do you work with local communities? Can you tell us a little bit about that? Well, when talking about algae, to be able to consume algae requires knowing. I don't know if you ask yourself, you know, you're a biologist, but the question is, what kind of algae are eaten? Well, cochayuyo, as all people hear about, Huiro can also be eaten. There are various algae that can be eaten and consumed because there's a judgment there that is very strong tasting, but there are various companies that can extract protein from algae that could be vegan protein. Yes, there are challenges there to transmit that information and take advantage of this. And that which relates to training, formative groups, our heart is working with communities, as I said before. And our work model, we have two, actually. One, where we work with the aquaculture group in the region of Los Lagos. There are many spaces, concessions in the ocean that they do not use and that we take advantage, and we create alliances with them to be able to develop farming, which are called educational nodes or formative nodes, where we transfer all the knowledge, technology, and knowledge in the algae, in how to create an infrastructure, how to monitor it, the benefits it entails. And then we transfer to them so that they can develop as algae farmers. So they learn different types of algae that grows in that area, which is very important. We observe how nature reacts in each location, and it depends on that, the kind of algae that we use, that we farm. What we seek is that they can finish afterwards. We move their infrastructure to their areas of management or where they're authorized to continue farming, and we can become farmers. And then we go to the next model which is only with the community, where we go and we accompany the process with them. We buy the algae from them, so we reutilize it to all these processes that I was mentioning before. So for us, it is very important and of great value that these communities developed and in algae farming, because we are geared towards a market that is basing itself from algae that come from farms that are young, that have certain characteristics, higher amount of hormones, less level of metals, that allow us to enter different markets. So we are constantly working with communities and giving them the support and training so that they can become artisanal algae farmers, not only developing capacities, but also making them part of the productive change by buying their products. It's very good to begin with a business where you already have your buyer available. It's very peaceful to them, and they opt for a price that is very different to what they were obtaining before on the beach. I see that. So tell us a little bit about the scalability of Huiro at the national or international level. At the domestic level, we are at the Los Lagos and Aysén, where are the simplest areas because they have internal seas that are more protective, and there are more spaces areas between aquaculture. There's a great many people that ask for concessions of metilids, which want to mix clams with algae. We have a challenge looking for those spaces in different regions. We are already installing a second hatchery, the second greenhouse of algae in Las Cruces, where I studied, so it's easier for me to collaborate with the university, and from there to begin to feed other communities. But we have different challenges at each location. We find ourselves in areas that are totally exposed. We are at a pilot level right now to determine the kind of infrastructure that we need is going to be completely different to the one we use down south. But the scalability is absolutely possible at a national level because they are found throughout the coast of Chile. And we also seek to domesticate more and more algae. In the north, we have, instead of pelillo, which there is very little, there's more chicoria. And so we use the same farming system. And so we have Huiro and chicoria. And so we combine different types of algae depending on the observation of nature, of course. Now, at the international level, these models, we are very much in contact with other organizations like Greengate that is strongly farming. It's an NGO that's focused on agriculture and a community farmers and small-scale farmers that collaborate and participate with other types of kelps that are very similar to Huiro. And these can be replicated. Then in Norway, this is extended. In Scotland also, the aspects in Namibia also, it is, well, Chinese, of course, they have the major producers of algae historically. But what we're seeking mostly, more than the productive or to respond to an industry or something of the sort, what we seek is to scale the model of the systemic viewpoint, to position ourselves not only in aquaculture, but at hopefully everything. What does it mean to have a regenerative crop, whether it's algae or anything else? What should be the parameters, the methodologies, the best practices, and this systemic global view to combine nature, economy, and people?
Perfecto.
Very good. So what do you believe will be the trends that will mark the future of aquaculture in the future. Aquaculture, particularly algae, I think it's very strong. The new carbon, the blue carbons, it's very incipient. Although we have analyzed this and studied this, the focus is going to be in conserving natural banks. That's what we are centering ourselves on. We need, the major challenges should be centered the food safety, climate change. How do we make sure that agriculture is sustainable, not to make the same mistakes of the past, where to respond to a challenge of food urgency is we don't care for the sustainability and regeneration. This is the major challenge. That we're running a race. Do we feed the world? But we have to make sure that where we're getting the source from has to be sustainable. And it has to go at the same speed, if you will. And this is what we are trying to impose and make it as fast, put a standpoint that these are the parameters of how this should work, to have a farm or a crop of algae that will favor the ecosystem and it will respond to an agri-food need. Simple things such as what is the largest size that a crop can have? Because if we do an enormous area, the effects could have an antagonistic response. So not only at the algae level, but the aquaculture in general, we have to begin to understand how this race of sustainability and agri-food safety can go in parallel. Thank you very much. I'm very thankful that you talked upon that and touched upon that topic. Now, I would like to ask you to give your advice for those that want to innovate in areas of food and agriculture. Those that want to begin their small entrepreneurships or innovate in this area. I believe today we can no longer develop or begin a development of an entrepreneurship without a view, without having regeneration at the center, at the core. We have to, innovation is necessary, we need it, yes, to respond to the challenges we face, but that has to be linked to a regenerative model that is connected to the challenges of climate change, the sustainability and food safety, because or else we're going to continue feeding the same system that led us to where we are today. We have to think and dare to think and challenge ourselves to look systemically at the innovations that we are developing. We're not leaving outside or behind the environment, the industry, and the community. We have to look at this systemically, collaboratively, and not leaving aside, or rather remembering the challenges of climate change that is surrounding us and we need to respond to. Thank you once again for your answer on this balance that Huiro is seeking and strategically looking towards. We have learned a great deal. Thank you so much for your complete answers, María José, and for this delightful conversation. We would like to thank everyone that has been with us and watching us today. I would like to remind you that you can access all our other 7 interviews that we have had in Agrovisiones. And I would like to bid you farewell, and I wish you an excellent day. Thank you, Luz.